Good evening and welcome to Ask Sid, your weekly show where we discuss what your questions are that we need to answer on this show. And joining me tonight, I have got the Hotspur Hurley himself, Sean. Good evening, Sean. How are you?
I'm fine, Sid. How's yourself?
I'm all right, thank you. Been a bit of a topsy-turvy week, the COVID outbreak at Spurs. Should they cancel the game? Should they not? And then they've cancelled it. And then Reno saying, why did you cancel it? What do you mean, why did you cancel it? We've got 13 players out. Oh, okay. But we're still going to fly to London and then we're going to fly back again. I think they just done that to get the airtime points, mate. They wanted some rewards, free flight next time. So, yeah. And then obviously you got everyone else whining, especially
the latest thing, of course, is that Vitesse kicked up a stink, but anyway.
Yeah, but you know what? Vitesse have said it is unfair on us because they're going to know what they need to do. But fair play, if it's COVID, then it's COVID. And it's like Antonio Conte said, at the end of the day, mate, it's family, it's friends. You've got to protect everyone, It's ridiculous. You're going to have 50,000 fans, 55 tonight. And if it just gets a mad outbreak, you know what? Boris is going to continue having his parties inside and everyone else is going to suffer. So, you know what? Anyway, so Thursday night, it's normally Friday for Ask Sid, but tonight we've done it on Thursday because Spurs are not playing. So I thought to yourself, Spurs are not going to entertain you. So let me entertain you. So let's get it done. So your questions need answers. And the question in question is, should Spurs allow HUGO LLORIS, our number one keeper for the last 10 years, to leave in the summer? Ladies and gentlemen, post your comments in the box. Let's get this chat officially open. Let's have a talk. Should he stay or should he go? Who's the replacement? Who's good enough to come to Spurs? And on that note, Sean, it's over to you. What do you say?
We could have a very short thing. I just say no, he shouldn't be allowed to go. But I suppose the question that needs to be asked is, or the other question that needs to be asked, the sub question, if you like, is how has it got to this situation that we don't have his successor in the house, and in 4 weeks he can go and talk to anyone outside of England and sign a pre-contract?
Yep.
It's absolute madness. He's been with us for so long. He's won World Cups. He's won, European glory with his country, and yet, we've got no one to replace him. In my eyes.
Yeah, what you've said is totally correct, and just like to welcome everyone that's joining us tonight. Thank you. Please like, subscribe, share, and follow Paxton Road TV. We've got memberships as well, and also there will be a poll on the community page with regards to tonight's show. So please head over there, not now, later on, and cast your vote. And let's see. I know what everyone's gonna say. I know what the overall score is gonna be, but have your say. So why has it got to this stage? What a great question. I mean, we've known all along, right? He's one of the top keepers in the country. He's saved us time and time again. I think the answer to your question, Sean, is the reason it's got this far is because the manager merry-go-round. Nobody knew who's coming or going. I think when Nuno came in, that sort of, for me, made his mind up, because when it was going not too well, he's thinking, you know what, this guy is taking us down, and I'd rather go elsewhere, see my career off in France or wherever it was, than stay here and just get hammered week in, week out. Atmosphere is not good, and I'm going to leave. But going back to your question, why has it been left so late? I mean, like you said, come January the 1st, he can go and talk to any club, anywhere, and sign a pre-contract, and he can leave in summer, which for me is ludicrous. I mean, a World Cup European champ, well, a World Cup winning goalkeeper. Okay, he's 34 years old, but you're gonna allow him to go on a free when we haven't got a replacement. Galini, yeah, Galini's a replacement. I mean, he's not.
I mean, you've kind of hit another nail on the head. A goalkeeper at 30. No,
exactly.
He's not even satisfying the terms of his loan, I don't think.
No, this is the thing, isn't it? This is the problem we've got. I mean, Spursy 141 is saying here he should stay. Mark Cousins is saying definitely not. Eddie Ryan is saying stay. Mark Swift is saying stay. Eddie Ryan is saying, will the players have to get their fitness up before they play again? Of course they will. It's going to have to be, isn't it? Mark Cousins is saying here, Galini hasn't proved his worth yet, which I agree. Good evening, Cody Mack. He's saying, Hugo, like all the players, has turned up his aggression since Conte arrived. He is back sweeping more than we've seen in years. Still flapping at times, but his command of the box has improved. I agree with you. So last season and beginning of this season, what do you make of Lloris's form so far, Sean? Hello?
I think he's been commendable. He's come back from a really horrible injury against Brighton from, as we all remember. He's been imperious. I mean, the only doubt I have about Hugo Lloris is his ability to pass the ball and his distribution. If he had the distribution of an Alisson or the City keeper whose name escapes me, he would be, for me, irreplaceable. Even more so than our number 10 was in recent years. But yeah, I think Lloris is more than worth an extra 1, 2, God knows 4 years. I mean, goalkeepers are like Peter Pan. They can go on forever. It seems. We've had goalkeepers in their 40s who've never let us down. Even Big Pat, who's my hero when it comes to goalkeepers, was playing for us at 40. So I think they should be moving heaven and earth to tie him up to a contract. In the end, it's Lloris is he's a bit of a maverick as goalkeepers are. I mean, I get the impression it's not necessarily money that motivates him, because I think he comes from quite a wealthy family. But it's he wants to win domestic trophies. Whether that's in France or England or Italy or Germany or wherever, he would go and he wants to win domestic trophies. And I get the impression he would love to win domestic trophies at Spurs. I mean, he's been here for so long. We've seen him grow into, grow to the point where he's picked every week, and we never question it. He's, we always say, thank God we've got Hugo in the goal. He's worth points every season.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think Steve Ogrovich for Coventry and wherever he played until he was in his 39, I think he was, weren't he? 39 or 40. So, like you said, goalkeepers are one of them players, apart from if you're Cristiano Ronaldo and Ibrahimovic. I think keepers have got the sort of like the longest shelf life where they can go for quite a while. Now, Lloyd Hughes is saying here, I don't know if you agree with this one, he won't go, Sid. He's under no pressure to win trophies. He's won the biggest trophies out there with France. I think we've got a bit of a connection issue with Sean. So Lloyd, I think I agree with you. Oh, I'm on my own. I agree with you, Sean, here. He's won the biggest trophies with France, but I think deep down, like Sean was saying, you're back, Sean.
Yeah, internet issues at this end, I think. Right. But anyway, sorry about that.
I was just saying about Lloyd Hughes is saying here, he won't go. He's under no pressure to win trophies. He won the biggest trophies out there with France. Now, I still think, even though he's won the World Cup and I think he won the Euros, he still wants to win something in the domestic leagues, like you've just said. Now, he's been at Spurs for 10 years. He's probably should have won more than he has, but I still think he will want to win trophies. I don't think he's just sat there, and I don't think he's under pressure to win trophies. Of course, Spurs want to win trophies. It's just, we've got into finals, we've lost the finals. So, he could have had the FA Cup, he could have had a Carabao Cup, he could have had a Champions League, but it didn't materialise for him. Do you think he's under no pressure at Spurs?
Under no pressure at Spurs. What, in terms of being replaced?
No.
Well, currently, I'd say he's not under no pressure.
I mean, to win trophies. Is he under no pressure at Spurs to win trophies?
No, I mean, I think Hugo strikes me as someone who does commit to excellence. I mean, you only have to remember how he castigated the rest of the team after that disaster in the Zagreb last season. He wants to win a trophy with Tottenham. I think, if he didn't win a trophy with Tottenham, he would consider it a failure on his part. And as I say, I don't think he's motivated by money. I don't believe the rumours that say that he would go to Paris Saint-Germain in a heartbeat, because I think he's a southern Frenchman, and I think there's a bit of, between Paris and the rest of France, there's a bit of a kind of, I don't know, not a hatred, but well, unless you're maybe from Marseille, but they don't, I don't think it's Paris that he'd go to. He'd want to win a trophy, so I'm sure he'd have his pick of teams. He'd have his pick of teams, and he would choose wisely.
Yeah, I think.
But I think a domestic trophy, definitely. He wants a domestic trophy.
Yeah, I think France is definitely an option for him because he wants to go back there, doesn't he? But it's like you said, if we give him the contract, then obviously he ain't going to go. And good evening, Simon Stevens, he's basically saying, if Levy had his way, Hugo would stay at the club and play well into his 50s. If Shilton could do it, why not Hugo? I see him, you know what? I still think he's got a good few years in him. And a lot of people have said, Annie, sometimes he flaps a lot. Sometimes he has issues. I don't like this play out at the back. And I was watching it against Norwich as well, where he gets the ball and then Dyer's sometimes behind him waiting for the ball. And then he gives it a little short to Dyer. And then sometimes when he gets it back, he doesn't know what to do with it. And that sort of scares me sometimes, because there's been a few scary moments with him where he's got the ball back and then he'll boot it eventually. But why not just boot it in the first place? Unless he's told otherwise by Conte that I want you to play out from the back. But to play out from the back, he needs 100% confidence in his centre-backs. And I don't think he has got that confidence. I mean, last couple of games, I think he has with Dyer and Sancho. Well, not Sancho, but yeah, I think with Dyer he has. But I still don't think, because a few times against Norwich, Dyer got the ball and he took possession well into their half, which I thought was quite good. But you ain't going to get that against Liverpool or West Ham's or Man City's or Man United's. So sometimes he's got to mix it up. But in terms of his record, let me show you his record, right? So he joined Spurs. Here we go. He joined Spurs in 2012, right? So currently he's 34 years old. Now, for Spurs, he has made 313 appearances. I'm reading this out as well, so for the people that are going to catch it on audio, it's better to read it out as well so people can watch it and also listen to it. So appearances, he's had 313 appearances for Spurs. He's kept 110 clean sheets. With him in goal, we've won 178 games. We've lost 72. He's made 849 saves. Penalties saved 5. We all know he's not one of the best penalty savers as a goalkeeper, but he has saved a few, Man City being one or two of them. 189 punches. Probably half of them is in the dressing room. 236 high claims, 102 catches, 271 sweeper clearances, 1,456 throwouts. I'm shocked with that one because I've rarely seen him throw the ball out. And what even shocks me more is 2,254 goal kicks, because we're always playing it out from the back. So 2,254 goal kicks. I'd love to see what the ratio of that is in the last year or two. He's kept 110 clean sheets, like I've said. He's conceded 336 goals. And the bottom one is 19 errors leading to goals. What do you make of that?
I mean, they're quite phenomenal statistics, aren't they? I mean, given that, 19 errors over 10 years, that's what, two a season?
Two a season, yeah.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I mean, we all saw him do the ricket in the World Cup final, but at least France were well in control of that game. But
yeah.
I mean, this idea, it's funny, isn't it? Statistics can suddenly make you see players in a completely different light sometimes.
Yeah,
everyone
100%.
Sort of talks about Hugo's errors, but it's incredible. And he, as you said, he's not a bit penalty saver, but come to a big penalty.
Yeah,
and he's done it. I mean, you mentioned the Man City ones, but what about Aubameyang last minute in the league game at Wembley? I mean, if ever there was a big penalty, if he hadn't saved that penalty, if we hadn't kept that ball out, we would have finished fifth that season behind Arsenal.
Yeah,
that's the difference between top four and not top four, and that's why it astounds me. I said it at the beginning of the program. How have it got to the situation where we haven't got a replacement, we haven't got a successor in the house at the moment, in my view, and how is he's 4 weeks away from speaking to, I don't know, Barcelona or Real Madrid or any of these teams.
Whoever. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, JC here is saying, I can see Hugo staying 1 more 2 years, tops, no more than that. He should be kept for the moment without doubt. Bellini, however, needs to be sent back to Italy. I agree. Alexandra Hilton is saying here, last mistake was versus Southampton with the Cruyff turn. So, in terms of mistakes, I mean, 19 errors leading to goals in 313 games. That's just less than 5%, probably, just over 5%, which in 10 years, I think it is quite good. Clean sheets, he's kept a third of his appearances, so he's kept 110 clean sheets, so which is almost a third, which is not bad. What else can we say? I mean, goals conceded 336, so it's probably just averaging, well, just over one a game, isn't it? Every game he's played, he's conceded a goal. So it's still, you know what, I still think he's a top rated goalkeeper. And the problem, like you said, is come January the 1st, he's now open to talk to players. Now, nobody's discussed contracts with him. Now, I'm hearing the last day or two that a contract is imminent. He's going to sit down and the extension is going to be given to him. It's a matter of what everyone's asking. Is it going to be 1 year? Is it going to be 2 years? Because the question is, and we're going to go into this in a minute, is if he signs for another year or 2 years, right? Galini's not good enough to come into the first team yet. Maybe because he's not had enough experience, match times, and the games that he has played is not been that well. Do then other goalkeepers that we're potentially going to go and get, they'll want first team football. They'll be experienced goalkeepers, in my opinion, who are currently number ones at their clubs. Are they then going to leave that club to come to Spurs to be as an understudy to Hugo Lloris?
Yeah, that's a difficult one. I think if it was the last year of his contract in a normal case, we would have that successful, successor in, but we're not in that situation.
Yeah,
I do think there is some idea that maybe 2 years is the best that he would be prepared to sign. So we need someone within that 2 years to be ready to step in, and I'm sure you've got candidates that when we'll discuss that. But it just does surprise me that we're in this situation. Well, maybe it doesn't surprise me given the shambles that's been going on at the head of our club for a number of years now since they decided to get rid of our beloved Argentinian. But it's a shame because I think it creates uncertainty. I'm sure having Hugo behind you as a centre back like an Eric Dyer must fill you with some confidence that maybe he can dig me out of a mistake with a good stop. I'm sure if people go onto YouTube and look for a reel of his best saves, you'd be amazed at some of the things that it'll bring back some really good memories. But
I was on it this afternoon and I was watching it, and some of the saves are phenomenal. I mean, there's videos on YouTube of, I think, his top 100 saves, top 50 saves, and some phenomenal saves. Spursy141 is saying here, and what do you think of this one? He's very important for us from a leadership perspective. Do you know what? I totally agree with you here, Spursy141. 34-year-olds, oomph of experience, right? Playing for France as well as Tottenham Hotspur. Like I said, he's won the World Cup as well. Leadership from the back, that is what we've been lacking. And there can't be anyone better than HUGO LLORIS because he's 10 years of experience and he's won the World Cup. He's played with some of the best players in the world. So if you're a youngster in that defence, right, Sergio Reguilons, the Tangangas, Sanchez's, even Eric Dyer, I'd say, Skips and players like that, you'd be looking at him and for his leadership on the pitch because he's been there, he's done it. And he can then, all his experience, he can then put that down, onto them players and they can learn from him. I mean, I'm sure in training on match days, he's very, very professional and, you never see him sulking or having tantrums apart from that one with Son. But again, that was for the good because Son didn't do his job and LLORIS was that peed off because we almost conceded. He's actually made a point of it to say, do you know what? I'm not happy with that. The fans ain't happy with that. Do not do that again. And as always, everyone makes a big deal out of it. But bang to rights. He was right to do what he did because that could have cost us the game and a goal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm Jody. Our Jody's spot on again. He does provide leadership. I think that's the one thing. The journalists like Charlie Eccleshare and Alistair Gold and Jonathan Veal that follow us said during lockdown you could really hear Hugo calling out his defenders and organising. Probably in a full stadium you don't hear that, but you can bet your bottom dollar the players on the field do hear it. And I'm sure at times just him, putting a rocket up somebody's backside and saying get left, get right, whatever it is, has saved us from conceding goals. I don't think his leadership skills should ever be questioned, to be honest. Should ever be questioned. And you're spot on, Jody. That's a really good point.
Yeah. One of my favourites, Simon Stevens, is saying here, I still rate Hugo in the top 10 in the world. He's fit. He's still performing. Could see him doing a job for us for at least the next 4 to 5 years. But we do need an understudy, though. I totally agree, Simon, and I think Sean agrees as well. He could stay with us for the next 4 to 5 years, 100%, right? But the question I asked, and I said, well, not the question, statement I said before is, who is going to be willing to come as an understudy to HUGO LLORIS? I mean, that is the problem, isn't it? And I've been keeping my eyes on the comment section, and somebody mentioned a certain goalkeeper and he's kicked off in the group. So basically, going on to who I was going to talk to you about, Sean, before, one of the goalkeepers that has been linked a few times, and again in the last couple of days, it's been brought up again, and I heard it again today, is the current England #1 and Everton keeper, Jordan Pickford. Before I have my opinion, Jody doesn't want him. I think there's a few people that don't want Jordan Pickford at Spurs. What do you think? Do you think, well, first and foremost, is he a better keeper than Lloris? Would you have him at Spurs? And is he going to come as an understudy to Hugo? Did you get that, Sean?
Jordan Pickford.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is he better than? Go on.
He's certainly not in the same company as Hugo Lloris for me. I don't even think he's the best English goalkeeper. Although obviously Gareth Southgate tends to disagree with me.
Yeah.
He's not the tallest of goalkeepers, and he sometimes, I think, suffers from a bit from that's a chip on his shoulder to a certain degree. Yeah. And I often think he feels he has to be, the hard man, and that can lead to recklessness, as Virgil van Dijk will probably attest to. And I do think that sometimes you can get past him.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be my choice, I have to be honest. I do like the idea of an English goalkeeper, because I do worry that we seem to focus on players from overseas. I know, given the two Brazilians that are, up in the northwest, are so good, and Brazil does seem to be able to turn out goalkeepers of varying good to not so good quality. But and they all seem to be ball players, which is what we want. We live in the world of pep ball. And we need a goalkeeper that can play like a centre back, or a quarterback, even if we were using an American football analogy,
Yeah.
I think, I don't see Jordan Pickford as no. I can't see him in the replacing Hugo Lloris for me.
But the problem arises, right? Just before we move on, Sam Spurs for life, sign him up. Who are you referring to in the group? Are you referring to Jordan Pickford? Because you've not answered the question. Somebody has asked you, who are we signing up? And if you're telling us Jordan Pickford, then I'll let you fight it out in the comment section. But is he going to come to Spurs as an understudy? If Hugo signs this extension in January, right? Say, for example, 12 months or 24 months, Pickford will not come to Spurs as an understudy, because he is Everton's number one. He's England's number one. So there's no way I can see him coming to Spurs. Only way I see him coming to Spurs is if Hugo Lloris leaves, and there's nobody else left as a goalkeeper, and he's the last resort, I think, because I don't think a lot of fans at Spurs would want him there. Simon Stevens is saying here, and which, do you agree with this one? Only positive out of Hugo leaving would be the armband being passed on to an outfield player. He's a leader and a great club captain, but at times we are missing a Parker-type character as captain. No, he doesn't need to leave. Maybe Conte can put a hand on his shoulder and say, listen, mate, you're my number one. You're my keeper, but I want to give the armband to whoever, Højbjerg, whoever he wants to give it to. Are you okay with that? I personally don't see an issue with that. He doesn't have to necessarily leave the club to free up the armband. I personally think he can still stay at the club and hand the armband over. But, Alex Hilton is mentioning with the next goalkeeper I was saying, Dean Henderson. Opinions on Dean Henderson. To be fair, I was hoping Dean Henderson would have come to us last season, because when he went on loan to West Brom, there was rumours that he weren't going to go back to Man United. Man United didn't want him. He was looking to leave because De Gea was going to stay. Then he had a bit of a dodgy season. Then he was going to sell him and keep Dean Henderson. So he's sort of in between Man United's at the moment, between De Gea and Henderson, who's going to get that first position. So for me, I think he'd be a good understudy personally. Sean?
Yeah, I mean, of the English goalkeepers, he's probably my favourite. I think Dean Henderson. I think when he was on, as you say, when he's gone on loan, where he's been the number one, I think he's acquitted himself really well. I'm surprised that he's prepared to hang around and wait in the shadow of De Gea, because De Gea seems to, it seems to spur him on to higher heights. I think De Gea,
Yeah.
and I wonder whether it's because he fears, being replaced by Henderson. Maybe
He's a good keeper. He's a very good keeper, in my opinion. The only thing that's holding him back at
to
the
be honest,
moment.
I just want a goalkeeper who can, if we pick him, we feel as comfortable.
Yeah. You're breaking up, Sean. Let's give you another minute, 30 seconds. Yeah, but I think Henderson, for me, is the best of the bunch that's out there at the moment. But I think, as Simon Stevens is saying, a top keeper is going to be too costly, and especially in January as well. So Henderson leaving Man United in January is going to be a major, major problem. I don't think Man United will let him go to, let alone to Spurs. I don't think they'll let him go to any Prem club at the moment. So that's that. Bring it on to, do you know what? Everybody on the comment section today, yeah, the keepers that I'm talking about, and there's one in particular that I was not going to mention, but I thought this afternoon that I'm going to bring him in. And JC's already mentioned him as well, but I'm going to come to him in a minute. It might be a contentious goalkeeper, but Sean, I was just saying, Sam Spurs for Life is saying, would you want Galini as your number one? Let me throw it out there to everyone in the comments box who's watching and listening. Would you consider Galini as a number one?
To be honest, we've seen so little of Galini. It's very hard to make a judgment. He got good reviews when he was in Atalanta, but he's let some very soft goals in. I thought in the early rounds of the Conference League, and obviously we haven't seen him in a competitive, the domestic game. Whether it be the Carabao Cup or, I'm assuming that he may get a chance against Morecambe in the FA Cup if and when we get that game. But I think it's very hard to make a judgment on him. He certainly seems to have a good rapport with the squad. He's well liked. You get the impression that he's quite sociable. He's a bit of a maverick, which kind of puts him in the goalkeeper tradition, I suppose, of being a bit mad. No offense to goalkeepers that are watching tonight, but it's a hard one to call. I mean, because I've seen so little of him, I probably would have to say no at the moment.
Yeah,
I'd need to see him in a game that really counted.
True. I think Sam's answered the question here that everybody was asking, and basically he's saying, sign Hugo, definitely not Pickford, and Spursy 141. I can see the biggest sigh of relief with, phew, Sam, well done.
Well, that's a very good impression.
Okay. Lloyd usually saying he doesn't know enough
You've been
about
talking
Galini.
to Jody for too long.
I don't know enough about Galini. Simon Stevens is saying Galini could be a little bit like Gomez, absolute howlers at times, every time he steps onto the field. But once he's settled in and coached properly, suddenly once was a turd is now a torpe. Okay, maybe so. Right, so that's that one. The next keeper I was looking at was Nick Pope. I think a few mentioned as well that Nick Pope is a good potential. I mean, he's at Burnley at the moment. I personally think he's a great goalkeeper, and he would be a great understudy to have at Spurs, because for me, Burnley from Spurs would be a step up from Burnley. He's sort of been piped down the order for England number one, so a move to somebody like Spurs, I think, would be a massive, massive bonus for him. and could get him back into that top spot for England. Nick Pope for Spurs, anyone? Sean, what are you saying?
Again, I just don't know enough about Nick Pope. I mean, I know he's well talked about or certainly has been in the past. But then, there was a spell when he wasn't first choice at Burnley, and you start to wonder, well, why is that? Sean Dyche seems to be a pretty good judge of players. I mean, as I say, sometimes, I suppose what's making me reluctant to go full in on Nick Pope would be, I think of Matt Doherty, who joined our club, so he's seemingly absolutely destined to, carry on his form at Wolves. And I just think he's been overawed by the scale of our club, in terms of how big we are. And I wonder whether Nick Pope might fall into that same category, that he doesn't make the transition. You need someone with a bit of character, a bit of experience. I would say it's a bit of a punt on Nick Pope, is my feeling, to be honest.
No, do you know what? I disagree. I think he's been at Burnley. He's been regarded as one of the top keepers in the last season or two. He's been getting really good reviews. He's got into the England setup as well. And I think, as Simon Stevens is saying here, Pope is cheap and free and frees up some funds for outfield players that we desperately need. If he leaves, that's where I'd look. He's about as good as a shot stopper, at least. He's a great shot stopper, and I think he's quite young anyway, but I think he'd be a good. I think there's a few. JC said, yeah, I'm into that. Mark Swift is saying the same. Lord Hughes is saying he's about 7'6". I didn't realize he was that tall. So for me, out of all the goalkeepers there, I think Nick Pope probably would be the cheapest option. Pickford's never going to happen, and if it does, Everton going to ask for a stupid amount of money for him. Pope probably, because he's been at Burnley for so long, we could get him quite cheap. Now, the next keeper I'm going to talk about is it might be a bit of a talking point, because he wore the colours of that team down the road who got rid of him, and he now passes his trade at Aston Villa, and that's Martinez. I think Martinez is a phenomenal goalkeeper. I think he's top notch, and he's proved his worth at the moment at Aston Villa. The only concern for me is obviously because he's played for Arsenal, has he been drummed into his head that Spurs is not the team to go to. What do you think of Martinez at Aston Villa, Sean? Sean, can you hear me? Can you hear me? I think we've lost Sean.
Do you know what? He's a very good goalkeeper, and I cannot understand why why Arsenal let him go. I mean, well, the choices of the keepers they had at the time, he was. But yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, carry on. Go.
Yeah. Well, I'm speaking away here as well.
Carry on.
Yes, Martinez I think would be a great goalkeeper for us. I'm not actually too worried about his association with the Woolwich. I think he was hardly there very long, and it'd be quite salty, wouldn't it, to sign him up, play for us. We got two of his mates already in the squad, including your favourite, Mr. Lacelso, seems to be the new pronunciation from Bruno. Lacelso, or Lacelso, I think he says, But it's I think it would be, him and Romero, would be a good spine to have, wouldn't it?
I think so.
I wouldn't be against him joining us. I don't think. Well, you say that Everton would ask for a pretty penny. I think Villa would ask for a pretty penny too. You know.
Yeah, and I think
It would be expensive. I think.
yeah, especially now with Steven Gerrard being there as well, and I think Gerrard is not going to let him go that easily because he's just coming to a new club, and he's got a top keeper in him, and he's not going to let Martinez go cheap. I mean, push comes to the shove, it depends on what Spurs come up with. We could. I mean, Spurs, he's got him 141's got Martinez, was a great fantasy player last season. I hope you're referring to the fantasy football, yeah? I think he was a lot of people's fantasy league goalkeeper, and he done well. Mike, the Hotspur hustler, is saying Henderson or Johnston, both realistic if Hugo leaves. Sam Johnston's another keeper. I think we were linked with him a couple of seasons ago, and it's sort of we were going to get him. We weren't going to get him. I think after Joe Hart left as well. And then I think we ended up with Galini and not Johnston. But again, Johnston, because he's been an understudy quite a few times at Man United, West Brom, places like that. So he could have come to Spurs. And I think we missed a trick there with Sam Johnston. I think we could have got him a lot sooner had we gone in, but we didn't. And unfortunately, it's one of them. Nuno Espirito Santo. Oh, okay. Why didn't you buy Ter Stegen? I think when you was there, you should have got him. But yeah, he's a shout. Again, understudies. Are these guys willing to come as an understudy? I don't think so. I don't think Nick Pope would be a decent signing. I do think Nick Pope would be a decent signing. Yeah, agree. What Simon Stevens is saying, I love shopping at Burnley. We got Trippier for just painting Dyche's shed, Sean Dyche's shed for him. That was a steal when you think about the level he performed for us. He even forced to walk it out the side. 100%. But again, you know what? Sean Dyche is probably not going to let Pope go that easily. Hustler's in the building, so big up to Mr. Hustler. So, if you had a choice, Sean, now I'm going to put it out there to you. And I believe there's a poll already out on Paxton Road TV in the community section. Please go on there, cast your vote. Let's see what everyone is saying about which goalkeeper, if Hugo was to leave, we would prefer as an understudy or even as a number one. Just go on there, share it, tell everyone, and cast your vote. As it stands, I personally don't think Hugo's going to leave. I think he's going to get the extension that he deserves, not requires. He deserves the extension because this season he's been outstanding. And why would you want to leave or send a keeper or get... I mean, for once, I'm going to agree with Daniel Levy here. If he decides to say you're not going anywhere, yeah. And as Rio said, give him the contract. Throw the contract at him. Here we go. Here it is. Sign it. Give him 3 years. Give him 4 years. You have to give it to him. You agree? Oh, Sean, I think I've lost Sean. Yeah, so come January, I think the next couple of weeks are going to be massive for Spurs in terms of tying up Hugo Lloris. I think Paratici, I think Antonio Conte, I personally think they've all said to him, do you know what? We can't get rid of this goalkeeper. He has to stay at Spurs. And if Conte and that henchman that's always on the dugout, they're going to make sure Lloris stays. What do you think, Sean?
I think, this is a deal that could be concluded quite quickly. I think Charlie Eccleshare in the Athletic has certainly said that there's a deal to be made. Whether it's a 1 year extension with a possibility to extend, I think if Conte is turning the club around, which he appears to be, I'm sure Hugo will be interested to at least give us until another year to see how we get on. Maybe he'll just extend it to the end of Conte's contract, and then he'll go. I mean, unless there's a ready-made replacement in the offing, well, and obviously we don't know what Fabio is doing at this moment. I would want the deal concluded, and we keep Hugo and we do succession planning. Whether it's a case of we get. I mean, I think the too often we sign potential, and we never sign a player that's due to go straight into the team. Yeah. And I think goalkeeper is such a vital position. We need someone who will go straight into the team.
Yeah, and this is the thing. I think if anything, in the next, like you said, in the next couple of days, I think within a week, I think this Lloris situation is going to get signed, sealed, and delivered, because I think Spursy 141 Jordy's saying the same, that he'll stay under Conte, and I don't think Conte will want to bring in a new keeper in January or in the summer. Maybe in the summer, yeah, but when you've got an experienced keeper already at your club, right, you want to try and do everything to keep him there. And I personally think Lloris is not going anywhere unless something drastic happens and they don't listen to me. But I think by keeping him, and I think JC is saying exactly what I'm thinking here, the extension will free up funds for the outfield positions that really need addressing. I don't think the goalkeeping is not an issue for me at the moment, because we've got him till summer anyway. And his age, maybe some people might not take a gamble on HUGO LLORIS at 34, 35. But if we keep him, then that's extra funds we don't need to push out, and we build with the more priority, which is the defense midfield or maybe attack on the sides. That's my opinion. I mean, do you think that would be a good idea?
I'm not sure that it would mean extra funds, because Hugo would want a pay rise. He's not going to sign for less than he's getting at the moment. So,
no.
Yeah, I think it won't actually release funds, but what it will do will make successor planning a bit easier. If you know that he's here till X date, so we need to get a player to take over from X date, whether we bring him in before or whether we just let Hugo go one summer and the next season we start with, I don't know, someone like Manuel Neuer or or Donnarumma who's getting
not going to happen.
Nuts about by, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's
I know what you're saying.
I think it's a vital position. I seem to remember when Peter Shilton was playing for Nottingham Forest, he guaranteed them so many points a season. And they won the title. So I think it's a vital position. I'm not convinced by the understudy, but it does seem to be the model that Levy prefers. The signing players with resale values. Yeah, I want trophies.
Absolutely. And for me, I can't wait for the summer, right, and the new season to start with the new potential players that are going to come in, with what we've already, with Romero fully fit and everyone firing on all cylinders, and Hugo at the back of in the sticks with the experience. I want to see that next season under Conte, to see how far Conte can take us, and with his team and with an experienced keeper like him at the back, I honestly I just want to see how good and how far Spurs can go up with Conte. So just on that note, I just want to say a big thank you for everyone joining us tonight. There is, like I say, a community on the Paxton Road TV section. There's a poll out there. Please go and cast your vote, and let's see, which keeper you prefer if Hugo was to leave, which is not going to happen. Please like, subscribe, follow to this channel. We've got loads of channels. We've got loads of stuff going on. Unfortunately, we did have a Ren show today, and after the game show, which has got cancelled, we would have had preview show, the lineup show this weekend, Judge Jody on Monday. Everything's gone cancelled because of the Spurs game being cancelled. So Tottenham are not playing this weekend. So we've got a free weekend this weekend. Everyone can get re-energized. Everyone can get everything ready. Get your shopping done, Christmas shopping done. But I'm sure the great team at Paxton Road TV are all watching, listening to this, will be sat there thinking, right, what we're going to do to entertain and get the crowd, the followers, the subscribers, something to do at the weekend. So I'm sure we'll come up with some idea and we'll do a show. So Sean, thank you very much for joining me tonight. And
No
as
problem.
always, where can people find you?
They can usually find me here, usually tearing into players after a game, or praising the underdogs. You know,
Yeah.
I hold hopes that Conte can work miracles with our number 8. You hold hopes that he can do the same for the number 20. But who knows? Who knows? At least I feel we have a coach in charge. Fabio is supposedly tearing up the scouting system and rebooting it. Hopefully, we can start picking up players from all 4 corners of the world, and you know, we will rise like the phoenix from the ashes and become a Champions League team again.
Lovely. And on that note, thank you very much, everyone, for joining us, and thank you everyone who's going to be listening to this on podcast, on Arcast, and it's been a pleasure hosting tonight. Again, like I said to you, it should have been Friday, but pulled it forward to Thursday because Spurs were not playing tonight, and I just wanted to entertain people because I'm an entertainer. And on that note, it's goodbye from me.
And it's come on, you Spurs, from me.